Hello, beautiful people! Lovely to see you all. Um, I always forget what I'm about to say, but I started strong, didn't I? Hi, and welcome to my podcast. I am Naomi, and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting and other things, usually. I was learning recently about a thing called circuitous thinking, where you kind of go round and round and round and round, and then you come back. That's definitely the way that I think, and it's the way that I podcast. Anyway, so this is my podcast about knitting. Welcome if you've not been here before, and welcome back if you have. It's really, really nice to share time with you and to talk about knitting to people who care. If you are interested in joining my knit along, I'm doing a Not Obstructed by Perfection knit along, which is all about not obstructing yourself with the concept of perfection in your knitting. And so if you want to join, it's over on Instagram. I'll probably do a thread here. I'll do a podcast. I'll probably draw something from the YouTube as well at some point. My first drawing was from YouTube, so the next one's probably going to be on Instagram. No, it was on Instagram before. Oh my goodness, never mind. Just ignore me. Don't ignore me because you're watching me. I have a haircut, as you can tell. It was a bad haircut first, and so then I had to tell them to cut it more because I'm actually face blind. So it's rough for me if my hair makes me sad because my face doesn't really do anything either way, if that makes sense. I get a lot more out of hair than I do out of my face. Yeah. Face blindness is really cool. It's really interesting. I was fascinated by it when I learned that I was face blind. And I will go on at way too much length to anyone who seems remotely interested about face blindness. But, if you are, I'm the person that's going to ramble at you about it because I think it's so interesting. Anyway, I don't know why I'm talking about all of this. Welcome. I have a couple of finished objects. I have some whips. I don't think I have any new whips, but I have a cast-on plan, a couple of cast-on plans actually. I do have a new whip, and yeah. So let's go on a ride together, a knitting ride. Oh, and I have a book that I've started, a knitting book, which is exciting. So grab a cup of tea, and I have this phenomenal cup that I got from the farmer's market in Prague. I am now in Prague, it's a beautiful day, and it's in the evening right now, so nice evening light coming in. Beautiful, beautiful place that I'm in. Very, very happy and lucky to be here. It's actually been really cold at night and in the early morning, and then really warm during the day. So today it's like 22 degrees, which is really, really warm. It's a bit scattered this start, but that's okay. I have a cup of traveler's tea here, and I thought this cup is great. It's beautiful. It's lovely. That was basically the end of my thought. It's beautiful. Actually, as it turns out, very cool looking cups without handles. Very cool. Very difficult to drink tea out of, as it turns out, because tea is hot. Cup is hot. Hands become hot. Difficult situation. I see why cups have handles. But that's not the silhouette you're after. Then you have to, I suppose you have to suffer for your silhouette, for your teacup silhouette. What I'm drinking is called Traveler's Tea, which I thought was quite apt. I'm very focused on, I'm going to put this on the ground because if I put it on the table, it'll be very loud for you. I got it in Banff, and it's Banff Traveler's Tea. They tell you to go on their website to see what the ingredients of the tea is. When I bought it, I saw what the ingredients were, but then the tag doesn't say. I suppose because they write the tag individually, and they don't want to write in all the ingredients. So I don't remember what's in this, but I know that it's herbal and caffeine free. So that's all right. I can take a guess at what's in it from the smell. No, I have a very bad sense of smell. I can't take a guess at that. I don't have COVID, but I just don't. Let me try smelling it. I actually can't even guess one ingredient in this tea. Here's what it looks like. Any guesses? I mean, you can go to banffteaco.com and look up Traveler's Tea, and you can find out what's inside of this tea. I might do that, but probably not. So let me start with what I'm wearing. What I'm wearing is a t-shirt, but I'll show you what I'm wearing underneath, which is my, this is my, oh, I've forgotten what it is. It's a Jessie Made design, and I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called. It's like something to do with like structure or lines. I will put it up here. But it's got this cool line. It's like reverse stockinette. It's got this on the side and then this nice, like, does a good job. This is the tricky thing about like tops, is this little moment here. It's tricky, isn't it? Like, it's hard to design something that doesn't do this if it's got any kind of V situation going on it. So I'm always really interested and curious to see designs and to see what they do about this. I know in the what is it called? The Kadri one that I recently knitted a couple of. Can't remember the name of that one. She said that she tried loads of different ones in the pattern. She said she tried loads of different ones and she found that the best way was just to like not do any special treatment here. So I can't remember what I did, and I probably shouldn't say anyways because it's a paid for pattern, but I can't remember what this pattern has you do, but it's interesting, you know. I don't hate that, but it is interesting because it's just this little moment of a bit of like laddery looking situation. It's the same in the front and the back. And I knitted it in, actually, yarn that I got in Prague. In Katia Merino Seda. So, surprise, surprise, it's got silk in it. I just have an obsession with silk, folks, and it's not going to go away, I don't think. I loved the colors of it. You know, in the I'll see if I can find a picture of the hank. In the hank, it looks like it's going to be like, you know, that hanks can do that. They just like sort of trick you into thinking they're going to be a certain way, because it looked like it was going to be like almost like tube socks where it's like white with a little bit of this color and then a little bit of this blue. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool, you know, like lots of white, little bit of background green, and then some like stripes of red and blue, and it'll look like a really cool like tube sock. Obviously, you know, it looks different than that, but I love the colors in this. I find myself reaching for this more often than most of my tops that I've knit. My little, the words are tricky today for me. Remembering them at this moment in time, they're tricky. Camisole. I find that myself reaching for this one more than other camisoles. It is very short, so it's more of a bralette, which is what I was wanting when I made this. yeah, maybe I'll make a longer version. I really love it. I would love to make it in another another one in another yarn because I wear them a lot as undergarments, like I'm doing today with a t-shirt. And today was really hot out, and I was just wearing a t-shirt and a little like cotton gilet and this, and I wasn't too hot at all because silk and wool is temperature regulating, which is very cool. I do tend to like not wear it if it's like outrageously hot out. Then I always reach for my linen drawstring camisole, because linen is the best in heat, in extreme heat. Linen and cotton. Anyway, ooh, lots of rambling. Let me have a sip of tea. So I will show you my one finished object, which is my test knit for the lovely H Iris Knits over on Instagram. And it is this absolutely squishy divine candy sweet shop hat. You can see I just had a couple little mistakes here that I just wasn't obstructed by, and I carried on. I'm not even sure what happened here, actually. I think it was just, I find it, oh, that's washing out really, really strongly, really intensely. It's better. I find the start of the round in 2-color brioche in the round tricky. In 1 color, it's not as tricky because if you kind of like flub, it's not as obvious. You don't have these like bars of other colors like stretching differently because it's all 1 color. So I did do the sleeves of my cardigan, my November jacket by Petite Knit. I did the sleeves of those in the round, and I didn't find it quite as challenging, mostly because the not being obstructed by perfection just wasn't as visible. But this is a fabulous hat. I made the medium because I have a very large head, and I made it with these yarns. I shall show it to you. Nice double brim, very squish, 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 and deluxe. I made it with my avocado dyed yarn, which is merino. This is superwash merino from Yarn Undyed, and this is my avocado dyed that I did in Calgary before I left, and I have 500 grams of it. I just wanted to use a little bit of it for this hat. To match up with my leftovers, that this is a leftover skein from my Wednesday sweater that I didn't dye. It's the only skein I didn't dye, so I had 500 grams of full skeins from my Wednesday sweater left over, and I dyed them. And then I just had one, like half a ball of yarn that I'd like broken into the skein for my Wednesday sweater, and for some reason I didn't want to dye that because I was like, well, it's not a complete skein. So isn't it funny when you make like, when you give yourself reasons like that don't actually make any sense or don't actually have any logic behind them? They feel really logical, but they don't actually have any. Like, oh, I have all of this leftover yarn, I'm gonna dye it pink and then use it for a different project, but I'm only gonna dye the full skeins. I'm not gonna dye the partial skein. Why? Like, why not dye the partial skein? I can't tell you the answer to that because there is no answer. It was just, it went to the rule. That was the rule that I created, and I didn't ask any questions beyond that. That was the rule, and we move on because that's the rule. Anyway, so I had this as the white, and I paired the like cream color with my leftover mohair from the Wednesday sweater. And yeah, I really like the result. It's very pale and subtle. I'll show it inside out. So this is with the pink as the like main prevalent color. And then this is with the white as the main color, which is also cute. The white and, I suppose, sweetie colors. There's multiple colors here. So this is with the white. It's a bit, like, I suppose it's a bit stripier looking with the white. I haven't blocked this yet or washed it. I must admit, I've never actually blocked a hat. I don't know if it's because, like, I've never really known any reason to block a hat. Here's what I said to the colleague that I was teaching how to knit. He made a cowl, and before he had made a dishcloth, and I showed him how to block it, and he blocked it, and it's beautiful. And then he made a cowl, and he asked me, should I block it? And I replied saying, the only reason you should block something is if it's not quite the size you want it to be, the stitches look uneven, or the shape is slightly wrong, or it's like a little bit scratchy. And I was like, those are the three reasons. Either it's not the right size or shape, the stitches look uneven, or it's slightly too scratchy. Other than that, there's not really any reason to block. I'm sure that's wrong. I'm sure that's incorrect. And I look forward to hearing from anyone who cares to what other reasons there are to block things besides those ones. But blocking is new to me. Here's a family thing. My mom never really knitted to my memory. My grandmother knit, and she used to knit us jumpers when we were small, but she never taught us. And my mother knew how to knit, she just never did, for whatever reason. I don't know, I should ask her why. That's an interesting, my guess would just be like that she would, but she just would get distracted and stop and do something else. But she did teach me how to knit. Like, she taught me the knit stitch. I said, teach me how to knit, because we were doing those like hand, I don't know if you ever did that, where you took like, it was basically like sliced pieces of tights that were like rubber band size, but they were pieces of like nylons or tights or like, yeah. And you would put it over your, let me show you what I mean. So it was a circle like this. It was like a slice of tights, and you would do this with it. And then you would get another piece and you would put it on top of it, and you would do the same thing. So you had another little like slice of tights, and you would do the same thing. Doot, doot. It's weird how my fingers remember how to do this. Doot. Doot. This is kind of difficult to show you with yarn instead of pieces of tights. But then you would take that one and just put it over that one, and that one and put it over that one, and that one put it over that one, and that one and put it over that one. And then you would just keep doing it. So it's finger weaving, I guess. It's basically like a knitting machine, but on your fingers. Anyway, so we would go to this little shop, and we would get these big bags of like these sliced loops of tights of all different colors, and we just sit there and do that. And I remember I must have made like a kilometer of rope out of this, because obviously it's only one thickness, and I was obsessed with it. You know, I just loved it. And then I was like, and my mom was like, okay, at a certain point we have enough of this long stretchy rope thing that you're never going to do anything with. Maybe I should just teach you how to knit. I kind of assume that's what happened, or maybe I thought of knitting, but I reckon it's probably more my mom being like, okay, you're obsessed with this, but it's, maybe we can funnel this towards a slightly more wide-ranging variety of items. So she taught me how to knit, and I must have been like 8 or something, maybe. This is circuitous thinking, because I started out talking about something else. She taught me how to knit. She knew how to knit. She just never knit. So I think we like went out and purchased the supplies, and then she like taught me how to do it. And then that's how I learned to knit. And I would knit in the car. And my dad never let us put the book light on in the car, and he always drove at night because we would go camping, and you know he only had the weekend because we were at school, so he would drive like all through the night on the Friday, and then we'd camp Saturday, Sunday, and then he'd drive like late at night on the Sunday to get home. So I was always trying to knit, but it would always be dark, and I couldn't just sit inside the car, hands idle, doing nothing. So I had to knit. So basically, and then I remember we were in the car and I had forgotten my needles, but we had some of those like disposable chopsticks. So they were like wooden chopsticks. And so I was knitting with disposable wooden chopsticks in the dark. Let me tell you, when you're a learner and you're like naturally, most learners tend to make their stitches too tight. I wonder why. It's an interesting question. But most new knitters tend to knit too tightly. And I was, you know, a new knitter and I was knitting too tightly, but I was on chopsticks. So the hilarious thing is like chopsticks get wider as they go down. So it's like I would knit a really tight stitch and then not be able to push it down the needle because the needle was actually getting wider as I went. So it taught me very quickly to knit loosely. And it also taught me very quickly how to knit with my fingers. So ever since then, I've been a very loose knitter, and I've always like been able to knit without looking. Ribbing I can do, but I'll talk about that more later. What was I originally talking about? It was something to do with my mum. Let me have a drink of tea and think. No, I've got absolutely no idea. It's nice tea. Oh well, that's the story of how I learned to knit anyway. I was like on this roll, I don't even know what I was talking about. Never mind. Should I stop and listen back? Tempted. This is the one chance I have to, like, normally in life you can't do this, but I could actually just rewind and find out what I was originally talking about. I did it, and I now know what I was originally talking about. So excited about this. Okay, so I was telling you the story about my mom taught us how to knit. She knew how to knit, but she never knit. So I don't think I ever really saw anything that my mom made knit. I don't think I've ever seen anything she's knit. I know later in high school I tried to get me and my sister and my mom to knit a blanket together. There was this blanket pattern I found that was like, it was in a stitch dictionary, I think. So it was like, it was panels. So you basically knit like 6 scarves essentially and then sewed them together, and each panel had a different stitch pattern on. And I was like, we could do 2 each and then we could put them together. And weirdly, my sister is a knitter. She learned how to knit at a different time. I suppose she was too young when I learned because she's 5 years younger than me. And she knits totally differently to how I knit, which is interesting. I knit English and I throw, which I assume is probably how my mum taught me. And then my sister knits continental, but she holds the string between her finger and thumb when she purls. So she like holds the string like this, like this. And she puts it around the needle like that. She also knits through the back loop. I mean, my sister is all kinds of different than how I knit. I think she does the same. Anyways, I'm getting distracted again. The point is, my mom knew things about knitting, but she never did them. So when we were older and we were both knitting things, we would come out with a finished object, and we would be like, I would be maybe in high school and my sister in middle school. And I'd be like, oh, it's not right, it's this or it's that or whatever. And my mom would say, oh, you just have to block it. It'll be fine if you block it. And I remember it was probably like, it was like a piece of stockinette that was rolling. And I probably knit like a stockinette scarf and been like, oh, it's rolling. And, you know, you don't know unless you know or you learn. So I learned. This was what it was. I was knitting, for some reason I got into my head that I wanted to knit a chessboard in high school. And so I tried to knit a chessboard by making like, basically doing stranded knitting. So I was doing it Fair Isle, but the problem was that like, I was missing such giant chunks that I should have been doing intarsia, obviously, but I didn't know what intarsia was. So I was just doing Fair Isle, and so each chunk of the like square would just roll in on itself with the like strands coming around the back, because it would. Anyway, and my mom would always say, no matter what it was, if there was a problem, she would say, oh, you just need to block it and that'll fix it, because she knew this concept of like blocking would fix things. But she never like pushed enough to actually do it and show us. So we never did it, and we always thought it was such a silly idea. Like we were like, yeah, blocking is some magic thing that's gonna make something be a totally different property. That's totally crazy. That's completely silly. So we would make all kinds of jokes about like, my mom would always be like, oh, just block it. And we're like, ha ha ha, yeah, just block it. And so we would do things like, oh no, I cut my t-shirt in half. It's okay, just block it. It'll be fine. Or like, you know, we would just make all these jokes. And so it is hilarious because, you know, only recently since I've gotten into like watching knitting podcasts and actually learning things about knitting instead of just doing a me and just trying things out and failing miserably. I've recently obviously started blocking, and it's a revelation. And the first thing I blocked was my Mod Tee, which was just this like sea of stockinette. And you look at it and it's like kind of lumpy clumpy. And I was like, oh, well, it looks okay. But then I blocked it. I watched this great video of this Russian woman who shows you how to block, and she stretches it out, and then she shapes it and she just puts it on a towel. And I was like, that's my style. I don't have any tools, so this is great. And I just did that, and it was like, and it was so funny because I showed my sister and she was like, wow, you did that really well. And I'm like, you know what I did? I blocked it. And she literally lost her mind laughing. So we had this like complete, like it got to the point where we would just be like, you know, someone be like, oh, you know, oh no, I spilled ketchup all over my white shirt. Just block it. It'll be fine. Like, just like anything we would say, just block it and it'll be fine. Like we had this joke about blocking being this like magical cure-all for any type of like garment that was wrong in some way. And we just never believed her. We also never tried it. I'd like to reiterate, we never tried it. We just took the piss out of my mom. And then, you know, once I was like, guys, we were on a family call because it was during COVID, and I was like, guys, guess what I did? I blocked it. And my mom started laughing as well, and she was just like, I mean, I told you. Anyways, so I don't know why I would block this hat. I would like it to be slightly smaller potentially, but actually not really. It fits fine. I know that things tend to, like my hats tend to stretch out as I wear them, so. And this is superwash, which tends to stretch, and it's brioche, which tends to stretch, so I'm kind of hesitant to wash it. I might just not. But anyways, this has been a lot of chat so far, folks. Just 2 FOs that I've gone through. Anyway. So I'll tell you my plans after the whips. So I've shown you this. I don't think I've had any more progress because I have been wanting to have more progress on these socks, but I've been in test knit mode, and I need to kind of get a crack on with my test knitting. But these are my Pescatarian socks, which are still stalled at the beginning of the technical stuff. I was trying to I was trying to get my friends or my family when I was up in Scotland um, to like, I was trying to convince them to tell me that they thought it would be really cool to have one sock with a pattern and one sock without. And they were like, no, I'm not going to say that. It's not true. It'll look weird. And I was like, come on, guys. It would be cool, right? And they're like, no. So yeah, I don't think any progress has been made on those. But I will show you my... Oh, this is a random whip that happened because this was a panic cast on. This was your classic panic cast on. So we were going to listen to some music, and I am well known for falling asleep during classical music. But you know what? I have to take a quick moment to just defend, because actually, what's wrong with like just being so relaxed and happy that you just kind of nod off? I think that's actually totally legit. But knitting usually really helps me to stay awake and enjoy the music. And if you know you can knit quietly in a theater, I'm all about that. You know, knit between your legs, don't distract anybody, don't make any noise. But I'm all about that theater knitting. I remember in high school, friends just being like, really? Really? You're gonna knit during a film? And I'd be like, how is this affecting your life? The answer is it's not affecting your life. Yeah. Anyways, so we were going to listen to some classical music, and the whips I had were this little friend who's right at a moment of lots and lots of Bavarian twisted traveling stitches, which are as complicated as that name sounds, and my test knit, which has a beautiful lace pattern on it. I'll just give you a little quick view of that lace pattern. I'll show it to you in a second because it's next up. And I think I had finished my hat, or maybe I hadn't, but either way, it's double brioche. So I think I might have just been like at the crown, or maybe I wasn't. Maybe I just was... Well, this is interesting how the crown looks on the other side, because the crown looks like this on the right side with this nice like little situation, and then on the wrong side it's just sort of like a invisible situation. Kind of interesting. Anyway, so this is not a knit in the dark situation. This is not a knit in the dark situation. And the lace, though I had memorized it, was also not a knit in the dark situation, because memorizing lace usually means that you, for me, memorizing lace means you can read it and know what you're about to do, but you have to read it, which involves seeing it. So I had no knit in the dark situations, and I was panicking. I was like, I just need some stockinette. What can I do? So I grabbed this ball of possum and cashmere, which I showed you in a previous episode because I bought it in Canada. It is possum down and cashmere. It is very soft, and it has a very lovely halo. I don't know if you can see it. A very nice halo, I will say. And I just grabbed a pair of 9-inch circulars and I cast on, I want to say 56 stitches. Yeah. I found with the Wool in the Gang socks, the 60 stitch cast on, that was a big sock. Maybe it's because of my loose knitting, but yeah, so I did 56. And this is what I did during a 1 hour, I cast on as we were walking to the cathedral place where the music was, and then I did this during the show. And there are definitely some mistakes here. Case in point right here, little situation going on there. Got nice ribbing. Oopsies. Nice ribbing, nice ribbing, nice ribbing. Nice ribbing, nice ribbing. Mostly nice ribbing, nice ribbing, nice ribbing, nice ribbing. And then we're back to that initial whoopsies. So there's not much for me to ladder down and fix. I think I probably will ladder down and fix the mistakes here because A, they're not everywhere, and B, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches I need to ladder down, and B, I think they're going to be a gift, so I want to make them a little bit higher in standards to my normal. So that's a whip that after that one concert last weekend hasn't got any work. I will definitely enjoy getting to it. But here is my main whip at the moment. It is my test knit for the wonderful Danielle at Boho Dream Designs. And this is her Minerva Tea, which is super cute. And I'm really enjoying every step of this knit so far. It's got a pretty steep raglan increase here. And I just took the sleeves off, which is very exciting. It's got this amazing lace pattern on it with some cables. And then we're gonna have color work down like the bottom third of the body basically, which is really exciting. I will try it on for you. So this will be the first time I've tried this on. So we'll have to see how it goes. I don't know if I can actually get it on with these needles, to be fair. These are not Knit Pros, so this could be disastrous, folks. These aren't Knit Pros, so I can't do my normal trick of attaching another cord to them. I suppose I do have a connector for Chow Goose, but I only have like a cord that's like that long for socks, so it wouldn't be really that helpful. Let's try this. I don't think it's happening. I'm gonna put it over my head though. That's really cool, right? Really useful to see. Shows you a lot about the tea and the fit. It's gonna be phenomenal. Just dropped a stitch. Yeah, it's gonna be absolutely phenomenal. I need to buy some of those TKB cords. That is what I want right now. Is a cord that I can put on these 2 needles and then let the stitches slide, and I can put this on. But yeah, this is where I'm at. So I'm at a little bit of a stockinette situation at the moment, which is great. That means I've got a lot of easy walking knitting. And I've actually done quite a bit. This was just like today mostly, and yesterday a little bit. So it's going all right. I have to do a ways on here, about there, and then I get to start on the color work. This is what I wanted to show you. I need to take a picture of my options for the color work, because I need to decide what I'm gonna do. And I think I'm gonna show you my process for this. This is what I did. This is what I did for my Feel the Burn sweater. And I think it kind of worked out quite well. I used the app called Procreate on my iPad to kind of play around with the colors and work out how I wanted to rejig the color situation. So this pattern has 3 colors that it uses in the color work at the bottom of the body. And I have, and this is that ice yarn that I have, which has got some alpaca in it. It's actually, I've changed my mind on it. I quite like it. I think it's really soft, and it does also have acrylic in it, which is why I originally kind of didn't like it. So I picked out a bunch of alpaca when I was at home through my stash, went for a stash dive, and I found some colors that I could use actually for the 3 color color work. But now I can't decide because I actually, instead of 3 colors, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colors. So I want to play around and have a decide on what I want to do with it. So the first 3 colors I have are from an alpaca, some alpaca I got actually in the States, in Oregon. I got the fleece from a farmer and I spun it myself. This was when I first learned to spin, and I had a hand spindle, a drop spindle. So I made a project out of this, and then I don't think I used all of the yarn for it, or I did. Actually, I did. I used all the yarn. I made and I gave this as a gift, but I made a basically just 3 tubes. I knitted 3 in the round, or on circular needles, or I think it was actually on double pointed needles, but I made 3 tubes that are maybe about sock circumference or so. And then I grafted the tubes together. This is kind of similar to that toy I showed you last week. And it was a pattern that I made up. I'm sure it's out there. But basically I knit a tube and I grafted it together. So it was then a tube that made a donut. And then I knit a second tube in the other color. So this was one alpaca, and this was the other alpaca that I got, that I spun into 2-ply yarn. So I knit another tube out of this one. And then I grafted the tube together. I had to do this a few times because it didn't work out right the first time. But I grafted that tube together. And then I knit a final tube out of wool that I, again, from those two alpaca fleeces that I got. But this was a marled one. So one strand was the lighter color, and then one strand was the darker color. And I plied those 2 strands together to get this marled color. So I made a 3rd tube with this, and with the 3rd tube, I did a plait. So I made basically a cowl that was a donut plait. And I had to plait it first and then graft it. And as it turned out, I made the 3 tubes the same length, and that was incorrect because the one that wove through them needed to be longer. So it didn't turn out well. It was kind of like some were long and some, like the bit that was weaving through them was like tight, and then the other bits were kind of like loose. So basically what it meant was I needed to cut it, unravel some of it, and then graft it back together. And then I did that, and also the whole thing was too long. So it wasn't warm. It sat sort of like there. And so it wasn't like up on your neck. And it wasn't long enough to like do twice round. So there was no way to make it go up on your neck. So though I loved it and I thought it was beautiful, it just wasn't functional. So I had to pull all 3. I ended up then taking out all three of them and shortening all three of the tubes so that then when I grafted it together, it went over your head nicely, but then it also like sat around your neck and actually made your neck warm. And then I gave that as a gift. So this is my leftovers from that. So these are some really soft, gorgeously soft, lovely alpacas. And I thought that would be nice because this has some alpaca in it and there's some nice like neutrally browns to go with it. But then I was like, oh, I have other alpaca. So this is the pink alpaca from my Mod Tea. And this is the color Rose, I believe, and it's from Yarn Undyed. Guys, I hate to tell you this, but this is dyed. Anyway, so I have some leftover of this, which could go nicely with the colors here. And then when I was in Prague the last time, I got this Drops Alpaca Mix, which is, I don't know why it's called mix because it's 100% alpaca. I find alpaca to be like incredibly soft. It's so soft. So yeah, 100% alpaca, cute alpaca on there. I got this before I knew anything about yarn. I was thinking, am I wrong about that? No, it was before I knew anything about yarn. So I got this one, and then I also got this one. I don't know if you can kind of see it's almost got a purpley situation going with it. I thought it was brown when I got it in the shop, but it sort of looks purple. And I used these two to make myself some about this long socks. They're like tube socks and they're cabled. And they have a like proper like Celtic, big Celtic cable on them. And they look properly cool. I think most of the sock is knitted in this, and then there's like big stripes, and then the cable is knit in this. And I believe I got it from a pattern, but I don't remember where I got the pattern. I think it was free and I found it online. I'll show you the socks if I can get a picture. They're at home. I still wear them. The problem is, as I'm sure you could guess, 100% alpaca is very drapey. I didn't know this. And so for like a really tall sock, it falls down. Falls down big time. They're still really soft and really lovely, but they are like very loose on my foot because they just kind of like drape on it. And they feel great. They're like great socks for when I'm just walking around the boat. Or I do sometimes wear them when I have like a very tight boot that can like keep, that like won't allow them to come through the like tied situation of the boot, if that makes sense. But if you wear them with like, you couldn't wear them with wellies because within 4 seconds they would be around under your ankles probably. The whole sock would be underneath your heel because they are that drapey. They're serious about their drapey situation. So yeah, beautiful, yes. Soft and warm, yes. Functional. But that's okay. So these are the colors I have. I think they all are pretty cool. And I think they all really complement this, especially this brown. I'm definitely doing this browny purpley situation. I'm iffy on the pink. I don't know if I'm going to do the pink. I'm thinking of potentially just doing the browny purpley, the beige. I don't know if I would do both or just one or just the other because they're kind of the same color, but they're different like thicknesses. And then I would probably do one of these browns. So yeah, I'm going to use a picture and I'm going to look at the chart and I'm going to play around with these colors. And I might show you how I'm going to do that on Procreate if I screen grab what I'm doing on Procreate. I wanted to talk about were some plans. So that's my plan for that. I have 2 gifts that I need to knit. One of them is going to be those cashmere and possum socks. And then the other one, I think I have decided, I was laying in bed last night thinking about it. The other gift is going to be, I believe, another Sweet Shop hat with this ice yarn held double, potentially triple. And then it'll be the ice yarn the whole way. So like ice yarn for one color and then ice yarn plus this mohair for the other color. I think this is enough for a small Sweet Shop hat, I think. It's gonna be yarn chicken and it's gonna be fun. So look out for a Sweet Shop hat in these colors, which I think will be really cool. And my final plan, I brought some of this, well, all of this that I got from the boat. So this was the one like thing from the stash that I grabbed and brought with me. Mostly because I was thinking I was going to knit a gift with it, and I was thinking it's time to start gift knitting. I didn't do that well, but that's fine. I'll do it better. It's Cascade 220 Superwash Sport weight. And it is, I like to do it like this. Hi-ya! That was really sad. I'm gonna keep going. Here we go, are we ready? Hi-ya! What is actually happening right now? You know what? It's not loving me. It's cool, guys. I know what I'm doing. Look, I did it. I hope everyone really enjoyed that moment of life. Anyway, it is Cascade Yarns 220 Superwash Sport. I got 10 balls of this for £20, I think, from the Bay of Eves. I just love the color. It's kind of a it's like a periwinkle blue situation. Or is it periwinkle blue, folks? It's very soft, very superwashy, very slidey, silky. And I think what I'm gonna do with it, there's 2 potential things that I'm gonna do. One, originally I had planned, I'd had a look through my queue and my patterns that I want to make, and I think I might want to make a Culbreth jumper with this held double. I've seen a few people have done it and it looks really cool. Then I'm gonna look really quickly at what this pattern is because I can't remember what it's called. Ley Lines, which is like also a pullover, but it's called Ley Lines, and it's by Kirsten Rovetta, and it's got basically V, like ribbing that kind of makes a V down the front, and I think that looks really cool, and I think that would look really cool in this color with this yarn. But I also like the idea of the Culbreth, but I'm kind of attached to the Culbreth in a more woolly wool. I think the Culbreth is a really cool pattern, both as a cardigan and as a pullover. And I've been like, it's in my head, like I need to make it, but I don't know. I was slightly convinced seeing people's projects that had used superwash to make it. It's just the saddest hank ever. But now seeing this Ley Lines, I'm thinking, oh, that might be cooler. I don't know. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I might put a little like thingy on Instagram and have people vote. It's always a little bit sad. You put it on Instagram, you're like, vote, guys! And then like 40 people see it, and then like 2 people vote, and you're like, it's 50-50! The final whip I have is this jumper. And I'm really sorry because we're losing the light, and that's not well planned on my part. I might turn a light on. We're definitely fully losing the light here, folks. Is this. So this is my self-drafted jumper that I made. I showed you last week, and I was saying that I'm going to make it not be high-low. And that's what I'm doing here. I just need to get going on it. I think I might try and make a video out of it. We'll see. Hello. I'm a hole in this jumper. I'm looking forward to being whole again. Kind of like a balaclava. A beard balaclava. Anyway, so I have 2 sets of needles here. And there was actually, the reason why I cut it here and not like actually immediately on top of one of the needles was because there was a tie in the yarn. It was tied together, so I figured, I'll just untie it and start unraveling from there. So that's why I did that. I'm sure I'm going to be annoyed about having done that at some point. But I'm going to remove all of this, and then I'm going to graft this back together so that the hem is even. And then I will consider whether or not I want to leave this as a split hem or mattress stitch it together. Oh, it's like my jumper has its arm around me. That's nice. So I'm gonna work on that. And the final thing I have to show you is an acquisition, but it is not a yarn acquisition. It is a project bag acquisition. This is potentially the coolest bag I have ever seen. I know, big talk here. But folks, have a look. Also, very gender neutral for a project bag. Have a look at this project bag. So it is made by Brassy Industry, which is a pair of architects, actually, I think, that started making these bags. And, okay, it looks like a classy looking tote bag. It's not very wide, which is kind of different, and it's also pretty long, which is kind of different. Let me tell you, this is the coolest thing ever. So one strap, interesting. This is what happens. You open it up, and then you've got a bag like this, like a bucket bag with like 2 little straps, and that's it. So you then can like hold it like this, and it's open, you can look through it, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, there's my sunglasses and my badge for work. Okay. What else is in here? Oh, there's a keyring attachment, which is cool. And then there is a small inside pouch that attaches. Oh wow, the pouch is like totally separate. It doesn't attach into the bag at all. It's like a hanging pouch. That's quite cool. I don't know why I think it's cool, but it is. So it's only this deep. So if you want something that like isn't going to be like right at the bottom of your bag, you can put it in that little pouch. You know, it's a small thing. Anyways, look at this. You can also wear it as a backpack. I mean, guys, how cool is that? Also, the way that it closes is ingenious. So it has these little like stoppers here. I'm not sure why they have like a hole in them, like you could thread something through it. I don't know why, because there's, as far as I can tell, no functionality to that. You could just have it be the stoppers, but maybe it's just to make it bigger. And the stoppers like are what make it these different things. So the two stoppers here are what like hold it in place if you had it as a backpack. And there's two of these little guys on the bag. And so you can have it, if you pull this, all of the backpack straps become this one long over the shoulder strap. And that is my favorite position for knitting from. Top tip for you, if you're knitting, if you like to knit and walk, put a water bottle in the bag because it'll keep the bag heavy enough that it doesn't slide constantly off of your shoulder. Also, hydration. But yeah, it's amazing. It's the coolest bag. Also, for some reason, because it's so long, I went to the farmer's market today and I filled it with, I had a water bottle, I had a big thing of yogurt, I had 2 other things of yogurt and honey, and then I had a thing of cheese, and I had a whole punnet of blueberries, and then I had my knitting in this little bag on the top of it, and it felt like nothing on my shoulder. I think it's something about how it's like long and not wide, and like the distribution. Anyways, it's a genius bag. I'm so excited about it. Let me show you again. Now its handles, and these guys stop the handles from getting any longer, so they're only this long. Now it's a bucket bag, nice and open. Now it's a shoulder bag, nice and long, easy to get over the shoulder, perfect length. I hate it when it's like over the shoulder bag and it's like that and you have to like get your elbow over it. And then backpack. Whee! I mean, genius. It's nice, thick, like canvas. It's not got a very big footprint, sort of like that. I don't really use a handbag usually. Normally I just use tote bags like this, and I just walk around with these. And I put the things I need in them. Oh look, there's some Mentos, some knitting needles, a ruler, and an odd ball of yarn. Those are my essentials. So usually I use these as my handbag. But this is just so much classier and the same, if not more, functionality. So excited. You can tell that what excites me is functionality. I just get so into it. So we'll show you the chaos that has occurred because of the podcast, as is, chaos over here. All the chaos over there, chaos on the table. I mean, it's not too chaotic. I've seen more chaos. And it's also like nighttime dark now. That's better. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day doing whatever it is you love most. Yeah.